Hello, Professor and classmates. My name is San Juana Gonzalez, and I want to say that this is maybe my third time doing a video presentation for Post. So it's okay, but it's still a little nerve-wracking. For this report, I wanted to read a book called I Am Malala, the girl who fought for education and got shot by the Taliban. The young girl's name is Malala Yousafzai. As we see right here, she was a very young girl, and she was born in Mangora, Pakistan, which was like a small town or the largest town, sorry, the largest town in Swat Valley. Here's a picture of the town. She had two siblings, Kushal, which is 2 years younger than her, and Atal, which is 7 years younger than her. And throughout her short life so far, she's won so many awards, so many to name, but the most important, or the one that she's known for, is the Nobel Peace Prize, because she's the youngest one to ever win that award. She was named after Malai of Maiwand. She was a hero of Afghanistan. You see right there. She was a hero of Afghanistan who railed local Pashtun fighters against the British troops in 1880. Okay, so we'll start off with Malala. She grew up in and around school because her dad's dream, or her father's dream, was to found a school. So from a very young age, she valued education at a very young age. And her childhood in Mangala, she had little money at first, but her father's school started to pick up, and he started getting more students, so they started doing well. Malala was always on top of her class, a very smart young girl. She loved school. Pakistan began to change after the 9/11 attacks happened, and one day an earthquake devastated the Swat Valley, leaving the people there very confused, very scared, and all they wanted was some kind of leadership. So when she was 10, a man named Fazula started taking over Pakistan in Mangora, and Fazula started making these very strict rules. There, they couldn't have no CDs, no TVs, no DVDs in the homes, and so they had to destroy all that. And the women were supposed to remain at home, and he strongly believed that girls should not have an education. And for Malala, everything else was okay. Not acceptable, but it was okay. But the one that she could not accept was the rule of girls not getting education, because that was so important for her. And so her and her father strongly and publicly started speaking out against the Talibanization. She even began to write a diary about life as a girl under the Taliban. And obviously she didn't use her real name because she would get killed if they found out that she was writing against the Taliban. At last the army said that they had struck a deal for peace, but this peace did not last. And things got so bad that people started fleeing Pakistan, and they wanted to flee away from the Taliban. So everybody started leaving, Pakistan. And her family tried to stay there as much as they could, but eventually they had to leave as well. And so they became what they called internally displaced persons, which is IDPs, living outside of Swat Valley. They were living there for 3 months before they returned. And when they returned, that's when the army had announced that the Taliban had been driven out. Once they returned, Malala began to gain more national and international fame for being an advocate for girls' education. Her father also spoke out very loudly about education, and Pakistan was shaken up when the U.S. Navy came and started raiding and looking for Osama bin Laden, and eventually, obviously, we know that he got captured. And there were signs that the Taliban actually never left Pakistan, And SWAT and Malala's father feared that he would be a target because he was speaking against the Taliban. October the 12th in 2012, Malala was on the bus going to school. She was going to school. On her way to school, some man pulled the bus over and asked for Malala by her name, and he shot her in the face. She was taken to an army hospital in Peshawar and given an operation that gave her brain space to swell where the bullet had hit her on her head. This was at the age of 15. Can imagine at the age of 15 going through that ordeal. They prayed that she would survive, but they were not very hopeful, or they were very hopeful, but they weren't very sure that she would survive. And some British doctors came from Rawalpindi to assess her health in the hospital and said she needed to be moved if she wanted to survive. She was moved to Birmingham, the United Kingdom, where she was treated more extensively for her injuries. Her family followed her 10 days after because they needed to get some permits to go with her. They didn't return to Pakistan. They settled in an apartment in Birmingham. And here we see her father and her two brothers when they went to go visit her at the hospital in Birmingham. And here we see the hospital and where it was the Queen Elizabeth Hospital where she was taken, and where they took her to Birmingham. And so she was there. After her recovery, she was stronger. She was able to recover. I mean, she had complications to the recovery. Her eye, she couldn't close it, and then she couldn't smile for a while. She had numerous operations, and eventually she was let out. She to commemorate Malala, the UN had declared November 10th as Malala Day. And in reading the book, what I really loved about her story is that she said at the end of the book, "Peace in every home, in every street, in every village and country is my dream." That's what she dreams of, peace. But education for every boy and for every girl is our right. And I liked this book because a lot of times we take education for granted. Little things as education, as a TV, as music, as DVDs, movies, we take it for granted. And we have so much of it here, and over there they got taken that away from them. And as a 15-year-old, or at the time that it started, she was 10, all that got taken away, and the only thing that she was worried about was education. Like, take everything else away from me, but don't take education. And as a girl in the Taliban, in Pakistan, that was her dream. That she needed an education, because she said that Pakistan was in the condition it was because women weren't educated. They weren't allowed to get an education. And so I really like this book, and I wanted to show you several pictures of her hospital stay, and then her bus, the one that she was on when she got shot. It's right there. Look, the bus that she got shot in, and then we see the British doctors going to go see her at the hospital, and then we see her at the hospital right there. We see her at the hospital, and then we see the British doctors to come and seeing her at the hospital there. And then here we see that back in Pakistan, while she was in Birmingham, her friends left her a seat right where she used to sit. They left her a seat empty in her honor. That way they can always, she wanted to come back, or she. And on here we see her and her mom, because her mom was hardly ever pictured, because she didn't like to take photos because she was always scared of being targeted. And then the last picture I wanted to show you is a picture of her family, her dad, her mom, and her siblings. That's the latest picture that we have, and that's a picture in their apartment in Birmingham. I really enjoyed this book, and I hope y'all enjoyed the story behind it. It's very moving, and she still continues to do so much for education, and at such a young age she did so much for women's rights or girls' rights in Pakistan. And she is a hero for a lot of young women. And if you have a chance, y'all look into it, read it. It's such a good story. Thank you.